I think, folks, we're going to give it about another minute. I think there's still people chiming in regularly, so it is only 6:01, so we do want to make sure everyone has a chance to log in and get settled. So I wanted to thank you all for taking the time to participate and sit with us for a little bit of time this morning as we walk through this Erie County Storefront Revitalization Program. So I'm sure there'll be lots of questions. I think we have lots of answers already, but maybe we'll give it another minute, trying to folks are still chiming in. Okay. Thank you for your patience, folks. Well, it's 6:03, so why don't we get started? And folks will trickle in as they will. So, welcome tonight. As I mentioned, this is our first informational WebEx for the Erie County Storefront Revitalization Program, and I want to thank you all for taking your time to participate. I know your schedules are busy, and so I want to thank you for making the time, and also really thank you for all of your efforts to stay in business and keep plugging away the last couple of years. We know it's not been easy on the small retail and other bricks and mortar businesses, if you will. So my name is Dan Castle. I'm a Commissioner of Erie County Department of Environment Planning. I'm with Toronto Batchelor, who's the Director of the Erie County Office of Economic Development, and Vicki Haas, who is a business assistance specialist with Erie County as well. We have been also waiting for this day since the County Executive Mark Polenkars called us and said, like all municipalities in New York, we're seeing a significant increase in online sales tax revenue that was unanticipated. And, he wanted to return a large portion of that to the businesses that were impacted as a result of the increase in online sales during the pandemic. We've modeled its program after similar New York State Main Street programs, and our block grant has a commercial center investment program. Those are very good and nice programs, very meaningful, but for us, they're not always available in all of Erie County, and there's typically a match. So we created, and what Toronto will walk you through is wholeheartedly endorsed by both the County Executive's Administration and the County Legislature, is a very exciting program to offer these grants of up to $40,000 to individual storefronts. I think one of the things I would stress, and we heard this loud and clear both from the administration and from the legislature, is that all municipalities in Erie County will benefit. And so we are hoping that businesses, eligible small businesses from throughout Erie County will apply. And so our intent is to make sure that this program benefits every municipality in the county. So I'm going to defer to Toronto now to walk you through the program. I think Vicki will walk you through some question and answers, and we will go from there. So thank you again.
Thank you, Dan, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We will try to stay on schedule and be really respectful of everyone's time. This is being recorded, and we're going to put it on our website. So if any neighbors or friends or anyone that couldn't make it tonight need to reference this, or if any of you want to kind of go back and reference it, we will have it on our website so that folks can get to it and see it. I also wanted to Acknowledge also our program administrators. Harrison Studios is going to be helping us administer all of the applications that come in, as well as Prospect Hill, who is their subcontractor. So a lot of the mail-in applications will be sent to the program admins so that everyone is aware. I'm going to share my screen now and be patient with me, as this is my first webinar, and there's usually something that goes wrong. I'm going to share my slideshow. And I'll ask my fellow panelists if they can see what's on my screen.
We have this split screen, Jonna.
Okay. Screen 2. How is that?
It's still the split screen, but we can see the presentation.
Okay, great. All right. So we've got our Erie County Storefront Revitalization Grant Program. This is the information session. For today, we're really going to focus on the application process and also eligibility. So a lot of questions that are dealing with, really specific in the weeds minutia. We're not going to get into a lot of that today. That'll be for further down the line once we've established the awarded businesses, and we'll kind of get more into specifics as it pertains to specific buildings, especially once we bring on the architects that will be having help out. So for right now, we're just going to focus on the application and eligibility. Share that slide. See my first slide here. The program overview, eligible applicants, this is for-profit businesses. So be it C Corp, S Corp, LLCs, partnerships, also sole proprietors, which I'll get into a little bit further down the line in the presentation. We just asked for proof of business license or permit, or if you're doing business as, DBA is perfectly fine. And businesses that bring in less than $5 million in annual revenue, that's for each year. Also businesses with fewer than 75 or fewer employees. We do not differentiate between full-time and part-time. So that's 75 employees, be they full-time or part-time, and also commercially zoned properties, owners of and business owners that are functioning out of commercially zoned properties. Eligible activities are repair, replacement, or installation of existing building facade materials, permanent outdoor fixtures, grounds improvements that are incidental to rehab work that's on the building facade. And the same goes for the permanent outdoor fixtures as well. We really want to make sure that, those things are eligible, but we do want to make sure that the building itself is being touched and given a bit of a facelift as well. And then we're also including code and compliance and ADA accessibility. Not only are they eligible, but we do give some special consideration to folks that really want to bring their buildings up to code and making sure that they're accessible for differently abled citizens. Ineligible applicants, national chains, nonprofits, however, a for-profit subsidiary would be eligible. Financial lending institutions, religious institutions, and home-based businesses are all ineligible. Ineligible activities would be interior renovations as well as building additions. This is a smaller scale grant program, so building additions would end up being quite costly and go over the $40,000 that is allowed for each storefront within this program. So now I'm going to take you, bear with me here. This is our website where you can apply, www.erie.gov/storefront. Many of you have probably gone there so that you could register for the info session tonight. But we do have a host of of information on this website. It's very comprehensive. So I will bring you to this. Vicki, Dan, can you see the website on here? I want to make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing.
It's clear.
Yes, okay, great. So this is the page. This is our web page for the Storefront program. This is the information that you probably clicked on for tonight. We go over the eligible businesses, eligible expenses, special consideration that's being given for MWBE businesses, as well as service disabled veteran-owned businesses, and applicants from the same commercial districts or commercial corridor, or even from the same building if they have different storefronts. So these are all the documentation that you'll really want to make sure that you've got set. It's important that folks are organized and kind of have all your paperwork together, and that you have a complete application. So we have our flyer here, we have our fact sheet, we have the application checklist, frequently asked questions, the payroll self-certification form. This form is for if you do not have employees and if you are a sole proprietor, or if you've kept your business open without employees, this signed affidavit will certify that so that you can submit that with the application. Building owner consent form, if you are a business owner and you do not own the building that you operate out of, you just want the building owner to sign off and to consent to the changes to the building. And then we also offer a printable version of our application. So folks are more than welcome to print this out, fill it out, and mail it in. And I'll go over all of that information as well. We do want to make sure that folks really check over the checklist. I'll go over all of the documents in the checklist in just a moment here. Also making sure that the file sizes are either 3 or 4 megabytes. We don't want to go too large, especially when you're dealing with photos. Sometimes photographs are a bit large. So there are a lot of different avenues that you can take to make them a little bit smaller. If you need to make a PDF smaller, this site right here can assist. So please look this over if you've got any questions on that. And you can click here or here to apply for your online or to print out and mail in. And if there are additional questions that folks have, you can always reach out to storefrontinfo@erie.gov. And I'll go into, this is the checklist. You want a copy of the deed for building owners who are applying. If you do not own the building and you are leasing, a copy of your current lease agreement. Your property tax receipt evidencing taxes are current. I know that can vary between municipality. I think some municipalities, all of the taxes are all under one document. There are other municipalities where I believe they are separate, so you want to make sure that you check to make sure that all of your taxes, be it school tax, everything is either under one, or if you have to find that other form, make sure that you have that as well. We would like color photos showing the front of the building, as well as detailed photos of the proposed areas of work, as well as a proof of business license, permit, registration, corporate structure documentation. Proof of insurance as well, proof of gross annual income, that is, of course, less than 5 million from each year, 2019, 2020 tax returns. If you started your business in early 2020, that's just fine. We would just need your 2020 tax returns and not your 2019. And there will be an area in the application that will show, or if you don't have yours, where that you can bypass the 2019 and just submit 2020 if you are a newer business. Proof of employee paying payroll taxes as of March 17th, 2020, or again, that self-certification affidavit if you did not have employees during that time or before that time. Signed owner consent form, again, if you are a tenant. A copy of your MWBE or SDVOB, which is Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Business Certificate, as well as maximum file size 4 megabytes. That is important to denote. If any of these are missing or any of the documents that are required are missing, the application won't really allow you to submit it. So it will give you an error message if you're missing something. So just make sure that you've got all of your paperwork together. And we do have a frequently asked questions section. I'm going to go through a few of our questions, and if these pertain to you, hopefully this answers your question. If not, feel free to put questions in the Q&A section or in the chat. And when I'm done with the presentation, Vicki will read them off so that we can answer questions that come in. So who should I contact if I have questions about the program? You can email questions to storefrontinfo@erie.gov, or you can use the contact us form on our website, and you can expect a response within 72 business hours, 72 hours, 3 days, 3 business days. All attempted phone inquiries will be redirected towards that. I know I've taken a few calls myself, but as the application process ramps up and we keep going with this, we've got quite a bit of volume and limited staff to take in a lot of these. So we really do prefer that they're submitted via email. The application deadline is June 16th, 2022. However, we will accept applications until funds are depleted. What if my application is incomplete? Only completed applications will be considered for funding. We will not save incomplete applications either. So you definitely want to make sure that you have all of your documentation uploaded properly. What if my photos and documents are too large? File size is limited to 4 megabytes. For photos, you can set your camera to a lower resolution, and saving files as a PDF to flatten by choosing reduced file size in the file save as menu in Adobe Acrobat. That tends to work as well. There are also free web applications that will reduce your photo sizes or your PDF sizes as well. So there are some options online if you are having trouble with that. How should I label my files before uploading? Absolutely. Please label files so that they are consistent with the document that's being asked for. So include your business name as well as the accompanying document. So for, example, Joe's Lawn Service, Joe's Lawn -lease, so that we know that that's your lease. What if I send the wrong file attachment by mistake? I think that may have happened a few times already with folks that may have already submitted applications. So if you're on here and that pertains to you, you can email storefrontinfo@erie.gov with your submission confirmation number in the subject line, and in the body describe the mistaken file that was submitted and attach the correct one. So when you submit your application, you will get a confirmation email. So if you have any other issues, make sure that you reach out to storefrontinfo@erie.gov with that confirmation number if there's any issues that need to be corrected with your application. How much money can my business qualify for? The maximum award for each storefront project is $40,000. Payments are to be made directly to the construction contractors upon completion and approval of facade work. Special consideration will be given to applicants requesting less than the maximum amount. So you qualify for up to $40,000. We, of course, want to spread this money out as far as we can. This money, we're expecting it to go fairly quickly. This is definitely a competitive application process. So the more you can do with your building for less, the better that's gonna look. What if my total project cost is substantially higher than $40,000? The intent of this program is to complete a meaningful street-facing improvement for your business amounting to $40,000 or less. Applicants are responsible to submit a proposal that delineates a scope of work that will be fully completed within the awarded funding of up to $40,000. So even if your building does need more than that, if you can demonstrate that you can really improve Your facade, where it's visibly a visible improvement from the street, then you'll still be eligible for funding, but this is a facade program. It is not a building rehab program. So I definitely want to stress that, especially considering this is just exterior building renovations as well. We can't touch anything on the inside of the building. Can more than one storefront business apply from the same building? Yes. Multiple street-facing, independent, for-profit businesses can apply from within the same commercial building if each has a separate business certificate, a separate lease, or building ownership, and meets all other eligibility requirements. How long must I be in business to be eligible for funding? Your eligible business must have been in operation since March 17th of 2020. What if I do not have employees? Again, there's the self-certifying affidavit document that's right on the website. Have that notarized, and that will suffice. What if I don't own the building where my business is operating? You would be required to provide a signed building owner consent form, which is found on attachment A of the application form. It's also required that you submit a copy of your lease agreement with the building owner and proof that business property taxes are paid in full. Will my application get special consideration if I am a minority woman-owned business or service-disabled veteran business owner? Yes, certified minority women and service-disabled veteran-owned businesses will be given special consideration on their project completion. But if you are not certified, if you don't have that kind of certification, you are still absolutely eligible to apply. When can I begin work on my storefront project? After you receive a formal notification that your project has been approved for funding and your assigned architect reviews and approves the project scope, any work done prior to the grant award notification letter will not be reimbursed through this program. So any work that you've already done to the building, you wouldn't be able to reimburse for. Only newly incurred expenses that are incurred after you've gotten your notification to proceed. Each business that is selected for funding will be assigned an architect to help with their plans and to also help them get through the regulatory process as well with the board, zoning board, planning board, historic preservation boards, all of those things. We will have architects helping with that. So once they approve the scope of work, then you'd be able to get started. What types of facade improvements are eligible? Improvements are permitted for exterior work only. Again, just the outside of the building. How do I go about getting construction bids for my storefront project? So much like I was talking about before with the architects, you will be assigned an architect who will work with you to obtain all necessary drawings, all necessary approvals, and may also be able to supply an approved list of contractors for your project. If you've already selected a contractor, your architect will prove that they meet our requirements as a qualified, licensed construction contractor. Can I make interior renovations to my business with this funding? No, exterior only. What constitutes a main street or well-defined commercial business district? A main street is a major commercial street containing a mix of retail stores, restaurants, services, entertainment venues, and offices. A well-defined commercial business district is an area of commercial activity broader than just a single street that is also characterized by a mix of these uses. We do want to see that folks are talking to their neighbors. So if you have other businesses that are in close proximity to yours, make sure that your neighbors are also applying as well, so that it'll really increase the odds of you and your neighbors being funded. We really want to see some critical mass here. So the more clusters we see, the better. Are buildings owned by nonprofit organizations eligible for this program? Businesses owned by nonprofit organizations that are located on a main street or within a well-defined commercial business district are eligible as long as the applicant is a for-profit subsidiary or an independent storefront. So nonprofits are not eligible. However, for-profit subsidiaries of a nonprofit would be. or if the nonprofit is leasing space to an independently owned business. Are apartment buildings eligible for this program? No, they are not. However, for-profit, mixed-use, retail, restaurants, services, and other eligible street-facing businesses at the street level of an apartment building are eligible to apply. So if you've got a storefront on the ground level, that would be eligible. The apartment building itself, no, but that streetscape storefront would be. Can this funding be used for sidewalks and driveways or parking lots? Funding may be considered for sidewalks and driveways and parking lots if it can be demonstrated that they contribute to the greater overall improvement of the storefront revitalization project. These items will be reviewed and approved by your assigned architect, and they will be a bit case by case with these. Sidewalks, driveways, parking lots, they are eligible, but we do want to see that you are doing some work, a considerable amount of work to the building facade itself. Can I put an addition on my existing building? No. The intent of this funding is to make improvements to an existing storefront. Can funding be used for side and rear facades? Side and rear facade projects are eligible, especially if they can be seen from the street or used as part of the regular conduct of business. For example, a rear patio of a restaurant. Will partial funding be considered? Erie County may choose to award partial funding based upon application review. Funding requests may be reduced to exclude ineligible project costs or project costs that do not fully advance the goals of the program. Funding awards may also be reduced based on limited funding availability. So you certainly, you might be able to be awarded $20,000 as opposed to 40. You certainly don't have to apply for the full 40. And if you do apply for the full 40, but there are things within your project scope that don't quite fit the program, we do reserve the right to decrease your award. How long will it take to receive funding after my project application is approved? Funds will be paid directly to your construction contractor or contractors once the project work has been completed and all work has been certified and approved by your assigned architect. So that, as far as time frame, that's going to be a little bit tricky because it really does depend on how quickly the process will take, and they will vary. So we won't have specifics on that, but at least with the process, you've got to have the work signed off by your architect, and once everything's approved, then payments will be made directly to the contractors. How long do I have to complete my project? You've got 2 years, 24 months of the project award date. What if I have problems with my architect or contractor? In the unforeseen event that you have major concerns that you need to be addressed by the program administrators, you can email storefrontinfo@erie.gov. Please detail your concerns, and you will be contacted directly by Erie County to resolve any issues. Is there a phone number I can call if I have any questions? No, we are really trying to get everyone to utilize that email address, storefrontinfo@erie.gov. Please submit your questions only once, and you can expect a response within 72 hours. Phone calls will be redirected to that website as well. And if I cannot submit my application online, where should I mail my submission? You can mail applications to Prospect Hill Consulting LLC at 682 Columbus Parkway, Buffalo, New York 14213. That is all on the website as well. It is also on the application when you print it. Please only submit once. If you're going to submit electronically, submit it electronically. If you're going to mail it in, but please don't do both. It will disqualify duplicates. And I'm going to stop sharing, as that's my PowerPoint. Now, if we have some questions in the chat, we are more than happy to answer more specific ones. Vicki, if you don't mind reading some off.
Okay, I'm going to start out in chat because we have them both in chat and Q&A. So I'll try to keep up with both lists. But first question, my building is owned by my husband's business. I do not pay rent at this time, so I do not have a lease. How do I note that on the application?
So you have a functioning business, but you don't pay rent as you are in your husband's building. Okay. You need a lease agreement, or if he would like to apply for your business, he can put his deed on. So since he is the owner, he can use his deed to show that he owns the building. And you can apply, basically be applying jointly, but you can use the deed. Next one.
I think we're always going to find some gray area. I mean, these are great questions, and we'll try to answer what we can and follow up on others. But yeah, they're complicated questions, aren't they?
Everybody's unique, for
For
sure.
sure. All right, next question is,
Thank you for that. I'm sorry, Vicki, and thank you for that, Dan, too, because there might be some that are a little trickier that we might have to get back to folks on, but we'll definitely do our best to answer them right here and right now. Go ahead, Vicki. Sorry about that.
no problem. Next one, I bought and opened the business within the last month, so I didn't have the tax returns. Is this problematic for the application process?
You would have to have been in business since March 17th of 2020. So if it's a brand new business, then you would not qualify for this program.
Okay, next one. What if I purchased a building with the intent to move my business there, but it is still under renovation, so I have not moved in?
If your business has been in operation and is still in operation, you would still be eligible to apply, especially if you do own the building and you have the deed to the building now, you'd be able to submit that. Any renovation work that you've done so far would not be eligible for reimbursement, but work that might still need to be done once you potentially get an award letter, that would be eligible for funding potentially. So if you've got the deed, submit that, especially if your intent is to move into the building and your business is operational at present and has been since at least March 17th of 2020.
Okay, how does someone who is leasing get tax proof?
You'd want to get that either from the building owner, or I believe too, you can get a lot of that information from the municipality that you're within. But if you've got their taxes, if they're willing to submit those, they can show proof that way. And then, but it is public information as far as taxes are concerned as well. So you can contact your municipality.
And Trana, if I could just add
Please.
to that, I think we added a link right on the web application form. You can go to the Erie County tax mapper and put in the address, and you should be able to get proof that way as well.
Thanks, Vicki.
Sure. Next one, are artistic improvements like murals eligible?
Yes, that is eligible. Mm-hmm.
How soon after submitting the application will decisions be made about receiving an award?
So we're planning to have at least within 60 days of the deadline. So it could be sooner than that. It could be a little bit later than that, but that's the time frame that we're trying to stick with.
Okay. So the question is, you cannot apply if you've started your business in 2021?
That's correct.
All right, next one. Oh, this looks like it was some of these I think are coming in through privately to me, but I think they were meant to be public. First question is, how does a sign company become an approved contractor for the program?
Put down the person's contact information so that we can.
Okay.
But yeah, we're not certifying contractors. It's up to the business owner. So the sign contractor should reach out to business owners in that respect. Isn't that correct, Brenna?
Yeah, I know we're not certifying any, but we do want to make sure that the contractors that are working with business owners are certified and licensed. So it would be up to them to make that happen. Up to the contractor.
Okay, next one is parking lot lighting upgrades, new installation fall under the sidewalk parking, or is that in the architect review bucket?
That would definitely be in the architecture review bucket. However, anything that's going to be done as far as paving or grounds improvements, you got to make sure that there's a significant amount of work being done to the actual building. If it's just that, then that's not gonna give you a strong application.
Okay, if a business has multiple locations across different towns in Erie County where total combined revenue of all locations exceeds 5 million, can they apply based on revenue of a single location that they would want to be making facade improvements on?
It's per the company. So if one company owns multiple locations, that revenue is still going to the same company. So that would make that company ineligible because they make in excess of 5 million annually.
Okay. Whoops, something just happened. Go back. Okay. My shop is a DBA in my name under an LLC in my husband's name. Will I still be eligible?
Yes, DBAs are fine, and LLCs are fine as well. So either would make you eligible. That's still proof of business.
Okay, let's see. So is landscaping or curb appeal included in facade improvements?
Yes, again, that is included as long as you are making significant improvements to the building facade itself. Alone, they do not stand.
Okay. My business was started 4 years ago, but it was home-based. I opened the brick and mortar a month ago using the other business as a starter and worked with the SBA. It is a different business, but started using the prior business as a model. Can I still not apply, or do I have to wait 2 more years?
So home-based businesses are ineligible for this, and basically only within the last month you've had a brick and mortar. I really want to stress that the whole point of this program is to really use that online sales tax revenue to help the brick and mortar businesses that were open at the height of the pandemic and that suffered due to lack of foot traffic. So if you had a home-based business throughout that time, that would make you ineligible. You would have had to have the brick and mortar throughout this time.
Okay, do you need to complete an online application all in one sitting, or can you come back to it?
I don't believe the system saves it. So you'll want to make sure that you've got all of your stuff together when you're ready to submit. I don't think the system saves it for you.
So next question, not murals, but is plain old exterior painting eligible?
Yes.
Okay. Next, are you going to provide architect contractors, or do we hire our own?
So we are going to provide the architects. The contractors, you will hire your own. I believe you're going to have to get at least 2 bids. And the architects can assist with that, but you will ultimately be responsible for hiring the contractor. We will provide the architects though, and they can really kind of help you along that way.
Okay. Next is a comment, just so excited about this opportunity. Thanks for sharing it. So next one, how about if I moved to this location recently?
If your business was operational out of a brick and mortar, another brick and mortar location, and you're just simply moving, that would still make you eligible, but your business would have to have been in operation since at least March 17th of 2020, in a building that would have otherwise been eligible for this as well.
I don't really understand this one. From Tamia, okay, please add that to the eligible business because it wasn't there and I went through the entire application process and submitted.
Can you read that one again? I don't think I followed.
So this might be in response to some answer you gave previously. It says, please add that to the eligible business because it wasn't there and I went through the entire application process. So I'm not sure. We'll have to get more clarification on that.
And please keep in mind, everyone, everybody's answering questions, so we're not answering in the chat specific to you. So if you have questions, email storefront@erie.gov if you've got more specific questions.
Right. Or, you know, more detail on what you've had here.
Yeah.
Okay, so how much deference will be given to multiple business applicants within the same business district?
So it's going to be case by case for those, but it's definitely going to strengthen an application if we see that there are multiple applications from within a small area. So I can't tell you exactly how much, but it will improve the application's strength.
Okay, next one. When doing the submittals for the scope of work, will you need our contractor to create renderings of the proposed changes on pictures of our building?
We're going to be providing architects and architectural services at no cost to the business owner. So, you know, if you've got some renderings and scope already, you're certainly welcome to use that and give that to your assigned architect. But if you don't, we will have the architect on hand to help you through that process.
Okay, my company was formed 4 years ago, but I just recently moved into my current storefront September 1st from a location down the road. Does that make a difference?
Moving is okay as long as you've been in operation and you are coming from another building that would have been eligible. Like, unfortunately, the person coming from a home-based business to a brick and mortar isn't, but if they were coming from another brick and mortar to a different brick and mortar, then they would be.
Okay. And then this one isn't complete, but it looks like, are we assigning the architect so probably after we get approved?
Yes. So the folks that are, whomever is determined to be a grant recipient, at which point, once you're accepted into the program, you will at that point be assigned an architect. We're only assigning architects to folks that are awarded, of course.
Okay, so then for the application, to be clear, we just need to submit pictures of where we want to do the work and then just give us written scope of work?
Yep, that works. You can, and then I think what we really want to see is maybe just like a picture of the exterior, and then if there's, you know, a more specific area that you want to really work on, you can kind of zoom into that and submit those photos. I think we're only requesting like 2 photos anyway, so don't worry too much about going crazy about the photos, as long as we can get a sense of what the facade looks like and some of the work that might be needed.
Okay. In a more impoverished district within the city, can businesses who apply with other businesses expect to be assessed individually or collectively based on impact?
So each business that is applying will be processed separately. So they're separate applications, but if we can see that, you know, you're in really close proximity to, or even in the same building as another storefront, that's going to strengthen the application, but they're separate applications.
Okay. Are the bids and cost estimates a part of the submission process? If so, how do we provide cost estimates if we don't have an architect until after approval?
None of those are required at this point. So a lot of that will happen after. So really it's more about the other things that are on the checklist, not so much the bids and the costs because there's going to be a lot of folks that don't know that yet.
Okay, next one. How many pictures should we submit?
I believe we were just asking for 2.
Okay. Next is roofing included in facade renovations.
Roofing is included, yes.
Let's see, are atriums included in facade as they can be seen from the street or sidewalk?
No, they're inside the building, so that's going to be no. Exterior only.
Okay. Let's see. How long are we going until 7? Because I keep following the chat and it keeps coming in, and I know there's ones in the Q&A too. So at some point,
Okay.
I'll switch over to the other one.
If your question's not answered tonight, if we run out of time, email that the address, storefrontinfo@erie.gov. If we can't get to yours during the webinar, then we will definitely answer it from that email.
Okay, I'll probably switch over in a minute just to catch some of those earlier ones. Let's see, I own 3 mixed-use properties on Lovejoy Street. All 3 properties have a business on the first floor facing the main street, Lovejoy, and 2 to 3 apartments. I only rent to the respective business owners. For example, I am not personally involved in the businesses. As the owner of the building, am I still eligible to apply and improve the exteriors of the businesses?
The businesses that are operating should apply. This grant is for the businesses. They're not for property owners. It's for property owners if you happen to be the business owner and you own your own property, then yes. But if you own a property and there are 3 different businesses functioning out of your property, those businesses need to apply and get your consent. So you would just sign that consent form for them.
Okay, I'm going to do one more in here and then I'll switch over to Q&A. Are we able to submit more than 2 pictures to show smaller areas needed that cannot be seen clearly in the larger ones? I have a cracked front store window, for example.
We really have to be careful with the file sizes and how much. You figure we've got a lot of applications coming in, so you want to keep it as streamlined as possible. I would really only do the 2 if you can, and then make sure you just detail out the work that needs to be done.
Okay, now I'm switching over to Q&A for a little while. First question there is, I own a property that currently has 2 businesses in it. One is moving in about a month. Another business will be born in its place at some time soon. We are in major need of a new driveway. I do not know how to apply since the one business is moving and the other will be closing.
Yeah, it's really the businesses that we're trying to fund, not so much the property owners. So if you don't have businesses that are currently leasing the space that have been in operation since March 17th of 2020, then that would make it ineligible. You'd really want the business owners that are occupying the space to apply, and only if they've been in business for at least 2 years.
All right, I think this next one is the same. My business is currently not open as I'm restoring the property. Would I be eligible for this grant as I have completely restored the interior of a mixed-use building?
If your business isn't currently operational, then no, you would not be eligible.
Okay, next, must a business be MWBE certified?
Nope, they don't have to be. Everybody's eligible to apply. There's just some special consideration given for certified MWBEs, but you're more than eligible to apply even if you don't have that certification.
Okay. Can an industrially owned zoned property apply? I own a tennis facility. Sorry for butchering that.
We're really trying to focus on commercial, especially with commercial businesses that really rely on that foot traffic. This isn't really for industrial projects.
Next one, what constitutes proof of payroll on 3/17/20?
I believe the payroll tax, and then if you don't have employees, you can always do the self-certification form.
Okay, next one, can I show proof of payroll taxes for 2021 when I hired people instead of 2020 when I wasn't yet in business? Similarly, can I submit 2021 tax returns instead of 2020?
You would have needed to be in business as of at least March 17th of 2020. So if you weren't in business in 2020, then you are not eligible for this funding.
Next one. Does the 5 million include sales tax, or is it sales before sales tax?
It's gross annual revenue, so it's before any deductions. It's basically whatever's online. What is it?
Okay.
I think line 7 on your tax return.
And then the second part to this question is, what if you have 2 storefronts within Erie County? Can you apply for both and access 80,000, or is it 40,000 max per LLC?
It's 40,000 per storefront. So if it's a separate independent business that's functioning out of the other storefront, then each storefront would be able to apply. If it's the same business, then I would say 1. But if they're separate businesses, you can apply separately for each business.
Okay. Is the property eligible if business corporate office address is in one location, but the building needing the storefront is in a second location, but is still owned by the business?
So we're definitely going to want to know where the business address is, not necessarily the mailing address as well. So, I mean, that's fine if you have 2 different addresses, but as long as that business address is within Erie County, you should still be eligible.
Okay. Will there be a lien put on the business if I receive the grant? If yes, then for how long?
No, we're not putting liens.
Okay. Next one. The property recently was transferred to an LLC in which I am the sole shareholder and my woman-owned business insurance agency will be the sole tenant. Would I be eligible?
Yes. From that information, yes, I would think you would be eligible.
Although you just want to check the types of businesses that are excluded in the fact sheet, right? Because I'm not sure if insurance and accounting and things may have been excluded. So just double check.
Financial management, I believe, is ineligible. So thank you, Vicki. Yep, perfect point.
Okay, next one. I'm confused. I will have an architect once I am approved. How do I get the design work and pictures to you to be approved and then the contractor bids? I'm not sure how to begin.
So the design work, bids, all of that, none of that is required for this stage. If you have those, you're more than welcome to submit those. But once you are assigned an architect, if you're awarded, then you would be able to get all of those things done. So if you don't have them, they're not required for submitting the application.
What is required is the pictures of the existing conditions.
Right.
Next one. Can money be used toward outdoor storefront sign?
Yep, signage is eligible.
Okay, another one about outdoor murals, which we already answered.
Murals are eligible.
Do we have to pay for the assigned architect?
Nope, architects are, they're provided free of charge to the business. It's just a part of the grant program.
Next one, I am the property owner. I have an LLC. My business depends on my tenant having good foot traffic. Can I apply?
I believe your tenant would need to apply. I think I need a little bit more information on that to be able to really answer it. So if we're not answering your question, email it with a little bit more detail to storefrontinfo@erie.gov.
Okay, I think we already answered. Are there a list of contractors that we can review?
I believe, and Dan and Vicki, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we do have a list of contractors, but I know the architects can also help folks find contractors. So there are some options as far as finding them if you don't have.
If there are contractors, we can keep a list and provide that. We don't endorse any, but if contractors want to get on that list, they should let us know. We just provide it to the recipient, and it's up to them to get 2 bids and hire. So, if contractors out there are interested, let us know. We'll put you on that list. And we'll provide the same list to everyone.
Right. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, next one. If we win an award, do we have to bring the building up to code for ADA?
Yes, so if you've got code violations or any code issues that need to be addressed, that would definitely come directly out of this funding. Same with ADA compliance.
Okay, sort of the same thing. Will creating handicap accessibility be considered?
Absolutely.
Next thing, I have a building with multiple storefronts. Can I apply for each address?
If you have separate businesses operating out of each of your storefronts, each of those businesses can apply, and they can apply separately, so they could potentially each get awarded for the exterior of your building. But the business operating out of the storefront needs to apply.
Next one, how are down payments to contractors handled?
That is something that we're going to get into once the awards are made and we bring our architects on. That's stuff for later and on the road. We're just focusing on the application and eligibility at this point.
Next thing, are estimated costs part of the application submission process?
They're not required, no.
My business has been operating out of a rented space, but recently we purchased a building to operate out of. Is it okay that the business will be moving to the new location that we now own? We have been operating since January of 2020. We closed on the property 2 weeks ago.
Absolutely. Yep. If you've got the deed and you have all the proper documentation for it, that works, especially since your business has been operational.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Will the back of the business be considered for improvement and side, because that's what most people see?
Yep. If the side, especially if it's visible and things, much like I mentioned earlier in the PowerPoint, if it's a restaurant and there's a back patio, that is all eligible. So the back would be eligible, especially if it's visible and you have foot traffic going to the back of your building as well. Yep.
Okay, there's another one here about having two businesses. They were both open since 2020, so I think, you know, we already answered that one.
Yep. Each business.
I did a project on a building built in 1854 from a picture I found at the Amherst Museum. The brick storefront was repaired, new storefront windows replaced, ground level and second and third floor windows were made from pictures by J.A. Gulick in Buffalo. Is it possible this project will qualify?
What are you trying to do with it? Are you trying to redo the windows, or it sounds like it would qualify based on, depends on what you want to do to it, but yes, from what I understand from the question, it would qualify.
Okay, next one. We rent a space in a building and have rented since 2014. However, our business was sold September 2021. We are still operating as the same business, but with documentation from the former owner to apply for the grant.
Send that one in an email because I have follow-up questions for that one. So whoever submitted that question, please email it to storefrontinfo@erie.gov.
Okay, next one. Is a fully licensed bed and breakfast eligible? Part of the building is a residence and part is the bed and breakfast.
That's gonna, it's not commercially.
I think we're gonna have to consider that one. Yeah, we're gonna have to look at that on a case-by-case basis.
Right, if it's residential, if it's zoned as residential, that's no. If it's zoned as commercial, then the downstairs could have potentially, but if it's a bed and breakfast, it's probably residential, which would make it ineligible. But like Dan said, a lot of those will have to be case by case.
Okay, there's quite a few questions here, so I'm going to try to get to ones that haven't been asked.
Okay, we'll answer a couple more, and any that haven't, please, like I said, email the info at or storefrontinfo@erie.gov.
Okay, next one is asking about clarifying on sign companies. If they're legally in business and can prove they are enough, is that enough to hire them?
Yep, that's all stuff that we will deal with when folks are awarded. Right now, the question should focus on the application process and the eligibility of the business.
I am not a certified women-owned business, but I own 100% of my business. What proof will you accept other than the certificate?
If you don't have a certification, if you don't have your certificate, that's fine. You'll still be eligible to apply. You just won't get special consideration.
Okay. Operating in a business as an S Corp for years, purchased the building in 2021 under a separate LLC, and there is another business in this building. Should the application be submitted by the S Corp utilizing the owner consent document?
The whatever businesses are functioning out of that building that have a street-facing storefront can apply.
Next one, I own a building that has 3 storefronts. The entire building is in need of a new roof. Can each tenant apply for the grant to cover the cost of the entire new roof, meaning 3 $40,000 grants?
Yes.
Would an extension of a length of the back of a business be considered if other facade improvements are included?
No, we're not doing any additions. That would be considered an addition. Additions are ineligible.
Lots of questions about whether you need to put estimates and contractor information in the application, and that's a no.
Right. Yep.
Don't need that.
That is not required. If you have it, feel free to upload it, but it is not required. If you don't have it, that's fine.
Is removal of tattered awnings eligible?
Yes. Awnings would be eligible, removal or putting them on.
Let's see. It's looking like some of these are repeats. My business started off as a home-based in 2020, but we moved into a brick and mortar in 2021 and currently still there.
Yeah, you would have needed to have been in the brick and mortar since March of 2020.
If the property owner is applying for multiple tenants and multiple storefronts in a district of buildings, does the owner provide their information or tenant information?
Tenants should be applying. I can't stress this enough. This program is really for the businesses, not for property owners. If you happen to be the property owner and you run your business out of your property, that's even better. But if you own a property and you have different tenants, your tenants should be applying. And then you would just sign the consent form for them.
Are front windows that are damaged covered?
Yes.
I would love to have a conversation about a person with this. So yeah, just email back. Our property is considered commercial, but we are located in what most people would consider industrial. Think of 3M and Peroxychem. There is no foot traffic per se, but there is a lot of drive-by traffic. Would we qualify?
Well, if it's zoned commercial, then technically you would qualify. So I say apply. However, if you don't rely on foot traffic, your application might not be as compelling.
Okay. I think we've pretty much hit the vast majority of them. I did skip over some that looked like they were redundant, but it's 7:05, and I think that we really hit the majority of them.
Okay, great. Thank you, Vicki, and thank you everybody for the questions you submitted. Again, if your question was not answered or if you have follow-up questions to the questions you submitted, feel free to email storefrontinfo@erie.gov, and we'll get back to you with a more specific answer. So good luck, everyone. Again, send your email, send your questions in, and make sure that you have all of your paperwork together when you are applying. And good luck to you all. Thank you so much.